Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul. Self David Quist, lovely co-host KB Kirk Brown. Week 3 recap already. It's flying by, KB. Like you said last episode, we're already a month into college football already, it's too fast. But we're here and we're ready to break down the games. Crazy, actually a really good slate of games. KB, things broke down really well. We'll jump into your game in a minute, but throw it to you for a quick intro, and then we'll talk ball.
Yeah, another fun weekend. I think we've seen some good and bad QB play so far. Some of the surprisers for QB play continue to fail expectations. And then, some guys, the dude out in Cal, Duran Quest, Swagapule or something like that, he's been dicing him up as a true freshman. So it was a really good slate, a lot of fun games on, and a couple upsets, and we know how much we adore upsets here. So
That's right.
Get us started. U of M versus CMU. Line was 28.5. Michigan had no problems in this game. They absolutely dominated. This was like a Jim Harbaugh era where they looked so dominant. They won in a bunch of different places. They ran for over 300 yards, and at the start of the game, I wasn't nervous because it's CMU. They haven't been good for a little bit now, but They were rolling safeties down, CMU was, and this is what I talked about in the Oklahoma game, is like you have to back the safeties off, and they did that right away. They're like, all right, if you want to play this aggressively, we'll let Bryce throw it around. He had a pretty good day, 16 to 25, 235. Really nice TD pass. He did throw a pick, kind of like a high school play pick where he just threw a jump ball while sprinting out of the pocket, even though he had a wide open check down on first down. So not that upset by it, but he ran for 114. On the backside of it, 2 rushing touchdowns, looked really good. The last play that he was in for...
Cowboys win.
And the last play he was in for was a play-action pass on 4th down where he rolled out, stopped his feet, ran full clear back across the field into the end zone and made a dude miss. So, he looked more comfortable to take off. He didn't look scared to take off, and it sounds like Sharon Moore was... in the prep for the week, he was about it. So I had picked CMU to cover, and Michigan absolutely blew him out. The team looked focused. Biff Poggi got him in a good spot. Sharon was still able to coach him up all week, obviously, and put together the game plan. But sounds like they were kind of nervous about the Oklahoma game to kind of let the leash off of Underwood, and they were like, hey, that's certainly a way to play, but we're going to try to... he needs to use his legs. It's not like he's like a 5'11 QB. He's 6'4", 235 pounds. You don't want him taking a bunch of shots, but you want to be able to have him use his big athleticism at times to punish people. I mean, he ran over a cornerback and fell forward 5 more yards because he's significantly larger than most guys on the football field that are trying to tackle him. So, good and bad day. The only bad thing about this game is Michigan had 2 45, 50-plus yard runs that were called back due to some holds. So they weren't big holds. They weren't the hold that sprung them. It was kind of the guy was trying to leave, and maybe he could have made a play, but probably not, and a little extra. So you want to see that cleaned up. But it was overall a really, really, really impressive performance by Michigan. Seems obviously horrible, but Even some bad teams, man, people struggle with putting them away. Any thoughts on the game, Quist? Obviously, big matchup next week. Michigan goes to Nebraska, the 3:30 CBS game, so it's one of the big games. But any thoughts on the game, Quist? Were you able to watch it? And then we'll get into yours.
Yeah, watch some highlights. Michigan dominated as they should. Kind of wish that's what my team did this week, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Justice Haynes looking great. I think he's a great running back. Good fit for your offense. Shout out to him. Jordan Marshall got 2 tutties, so good. Good to see him going. I know that's your 1-2 punch. A lot of guys got touches, and Bryce ran for 9 for 114 and 2 touchdowns, as you said. So a good running game. He threw I think his arm could be phenomenal the more he learns the game, especially in college, and very interesting to see. Receiving core, KB. I've been saying it for a long time. Do you think anybody took a big step here? I know this is more of a running game, and I know it's central. I think next week could be a game where you kind of highlight a guy that needs to step up, but just curious if you think anybody in the receiving core did that.
No, we still had a few drops. Samaj Morgan he made a good play, scored a touchdown on a really, really beautiful kind of pro corner route where you kind of go in and break in and then back out. But he had a drop on a screen, bubble screen that would have probably gone for like 30, 40 yards. And it's just more of those concentration drops where I'm more frustrated with this receiving core, where like first downs are getting dropped that are just, hey, these aren't difficult catches. So I haven't seen anyone step up, but also when you're up 28 points, how focused, it's CMU. But yeah, that's one of my big concerns is we've just dropped a lot of like easy catchable passes. But Donovan McCulley's a guy that next week, we had a couple big catches against Oklahoma. I really want them to feature him, get him the ball. He's a big physical kid. I think he can break a bunch of tackles after the catch, like kind of like not as good as Nick Marsh, obviously, because that's a pro caliber, receiver. If he was a junior, he'd be going in the draft. But I think it's a more than capable Big Ten player. It's just really finding those moments. But Samaj had a good game, but the one dropper, I would be like, eh. So still kind of waiting. Hogan Hansen, tight end, made a really, really good contested catch on a wheel up the sideline, which was a beautiful throw. But yeah, still wanting more from this receiving core, from the tight ends. And next week, like you said, is kind of the week to see that, because it was kind of a weird game plan against Oklahoma. And they said, they were trying to take the air out of the ball because of how dominant and quick and aggressive that offense can be, and they don't plan on doing that again. We will see when the big moment actually comes if they're willing to actually stand by that. But yeah, it was a really, you can't be mad winning by 60 and running for almost 400 yards. One of the shout-outs I do have for the game is, what's his name? Bryson Cudsdale. He's a Forest Hills Northern kid that he scored a touchdown today, which was really cool.
Let's go, yeah. Also, Ole Miss quarterback, started Trinidad. Forest Hills Northern kid as well. He lit him up against Arkansas. But yeah, my one comment, KB, is you should on this last week. Even if you open up the playbook more for Bryce and you still lose the game, it could have been more competitive. You could have seen what you actually had against a bearing down. We're coming down the alleyways to come get you kind of safety-led defense with their coach Venables. But it's a long season, and with the expanded playoff, maybe it doesn't matter as much, but I think, we like to see the big teams and the big games kind of step up, and they didn't. But, they got things right against Central, as they should. Defense played well, only giving up 3 points. And on to the next one at Nebraska, right? So that's a big game, and we'll see what Bryce and, Sharon's gone for one more game, and see what the coaching staff can do without their head coach on the sideline in a big away game.
Yeah, away games are the important ones, right? It's going to be a very raucous crowd. Nebraska always does a good job. They have a really good home atmosphere. Mm-hmm. The one thing about Bryce's game that still needs to develop is he's been throwing kind of these not bad balls, but it was the same thing that happened on the pick. He's just not seeing the backside safety all the time on some of the play action passes, rotating back, which means you have to get off that look, right? If the deep second half safety, if you're running like a post or a deep over, whatever it is, you have to see if he rotates back, you can't throw that ball. And so that's what happened on the pick, because he kind of just thought, hey, I can throw it up, let my guy win, and the safety retreated from his position. So that's one of those things that's a growing and opportunity moment. Not mad that he threw a pick on it, right? Picks are going to happen, right, with the young QB. Mm-hmm. But he looked good. But that's enough with that game. It was a blowout. We'll see what happens in Nebraska. I'm excited for this game. Really important to start this game, getting to 3-1 and still having another loss, I guess, available on the schedule is really important versus being 2-2 by the time October happens. Right? That's not a really good place to be.
For sure.
But Quist, MSU against Youngstown. I watched a lot of this game, jumping back and forth. I was planning on not watching a lot of it, but it was actually a pretty competitive game. Don't really like that. Your special teams carried you. I felt like a lot of huge plays special teams wise. Made this not as close of an upset opportunity, but still way too close for comfort. I'm really hoping that you were going to be able to blow this team out. Talk me through it. What do you think happened? What were the feels on that game?
Yeah, I'll start positive here. I think Childs looked really well. I mean, the interception, it's a rush. Tullis just missed his pass block. Guy tips it, and they pick it. So I think besides that, Childs, 22 for 29, 270, ran for 76. He was in complete control of that game, looked good. I'll get to the injuries in a minute. But, yeah, I thought Childs, he just looks cool, confident, and knows his talent. His footwork is better. I think when he runs, There was a play where it was kind of a broken play, and he scrambled out to the right, and he had Kelly wide open with probably 30 yards of end zone. He just kind of overthrew him. If he just put a little touch on that, Kelly's right under that. We get a little more of a cushion. I think we had a field goal that drive. That's probably the biggest miss for him. So solid for Childs, and I think the first half, the passing game was really good. Obviously, Nick Marsh got banged up. We don't really know the extent of his injury yet, but he had 6 catches for 94 yards and just was breaking tackles left and right. I mean, they were playing off coverage on the far side. We'd do a little curl, and he'd break a tackle and run for 20 yards. So, that was really great. We talked about how he's been a nothing burger all year so far, and I said I wouldn't say his name anymore, but Jack Velling, maybe he's healthy. 6 catches for 70 yards. Mizunis, 1 catch for 28 and a tutty, another tight end. Kelly with 4 catches. So a lot of guys touched the ball today as well, so that's a positive. In the special teams, like you said, I think the Kelly return was big, needed it, should have scored a touchdown, but, hell of an effort by the Youngstown guy getting blocked and he kind of got a hand on him to trip on himself. We have a kicker, Martin Connington, for a freshman. Guy's got a leg, hasn't missed yet, knock on wood. And obviously we have Eckley are punting, so, that's good. That's all the positives I have. The coaching, not a positive, but negatives, first and foremost, injuries. This is a game where I said, KB, we need to get out healthy, and, we got some relatively could be big injuries. Vincic, a lineman, got rolled up on. He probably tore something up in his knee. He's probably done. Nick Marsh did not come out for the second half, so that's a tremendous loss if he's gone. It didn't look like anything serious when it happened. It looked like he just jogged off, and then his helmet was off, and then he didn't come out for the half, so that could be really big. Mekhi Frazier, our pretty much 1A running back, he got kind of a weird tackle where you kind of get bent over, but I think he came back in, so that could have been a little bit of maybe an ankle or something. I'm trying to think. I think kind of the saddest one, because this guy's kind of emerged, and he was an honorary captain. Alante Brown had probably a non-contact injury in warm-ups, which usually means that's an ACL, which you hate to see. Guy he's lost his starting role-ish as a receiver, stepping up on special teams, gets an honorary captain for the week, and gets hurt in pregame, which is just sad and sucks. And then our defense is, I don't even know what our defense is. This is terrible. Getting no pass rush. I don't think we had a sack again. We're getting sliced and diced by quarterbacks. This was a running quarterback, and he only ran for 17 on 14 touches, so it's probably including tackles in the backfield. I don't know if we had a sack, KB. Feel free to double check me in a minute.
Yeah, 2 sacks.
Okay, but should be.
Jordan Hall had one.
Yep, at the line pretty much.
Analu Lafale had
yeah.
one in the first place, but yeah.
Okay, not much pressure in my opinion. I'm going to keep on. I'm going to beat that dead horse because it needs to be better. I don't know if we need to work on technique with the edge rushers or we need more blitzes, but it's been lots of time for these quarterbacks to slice and dice us. And, if a FCS team can scheme against you and dice you up, then USC is going to scheme you up and dice you up. And then Boston College loses to Stanford 30-20. So not a good look. I mean, Lonergan still had a good numbers. He threw for like 333 and a tutty and a pick, so he still had good numbers, but they didn't win the game. That's not a good look. Stanford lost to Hawaii, so keep that in mind. So defense needs, I don't know if it's an overhaul or something, but it doesn't look right. Communication's been mediocre. Guys look out of play, and guys are just way too wide open. They had one big long run. I was listening to a post game about it, and there's 3 guys in one gap, and that only means you got 8 or 9 guys running at a running back. See you later. So that's a bad look. Credit to Youngstown for playing hard and I guess scheming against us. But when it's 1A or FCS, FBS, whatever you want to call it, you should be pushing guys around. You should be running the ball. I mean, our lead rusher was Childs with 8 carries for 76. So the O-line rushing was not too great, in my opinion. We kind of leaned on Childs because Frazier only had 12 for 22. We actually run really well in the red zone. We had 3. I know Butler Jr.'s was a reverse. Frazier's was in the red zone, and Tullis was. I mean, all of our runs are in the red zone, so we have good red zone running. But between the 20s, it wasn't looking good. I think our play action might be our best thing we have on offense. But yeah, O-line not great. Defense is. I'm kind of curious what the spread might be for next week, KB. And then the injuries. If you lose a guy, NFL talent, like you said, Nick Marsh, that's a big loss. And a lineman that came from Oregon State, which is a bummer. He's pretty decent. So, the one thing I needed out of this game was coming out healthy and beating the shit out of a team like Michigan did, and we didn't. So, kind of disappointing, but we got the win. I'll count one. And I know Coach Smith is pretty disappointed in the defense too. He said it twice now in the halftime and the post game. So Joe Rossi's got to figure it out. Big game going out, playing at USC super late. I was hanging out with my wife, and I'm like, oh, it's 10:30. We wouldn't be playing next week yet. So it'll be a long night, and if we're getting our asses beat, I might just go to bed. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, KB, because this is a game where you want to, take that next step, not get hurt, look better than a inferior.
Well, Child's trying to hurdle someone is like
needs to slide.
What are we doing? Like,
and then he goes this. No, just get on, brother.
If you're playing a big team where that's like a big carry and you need to try to break another tackle to win the game, sure. But that it just goes to like a lack of consistency, which I think I'm getting a little concerned about the staff of week to week not being well prepared, and specifically the defense, man. I mean, that is not like a good O-line. Now, they couldn't really run, which I think MSU has done an effective job on the last 3 weeks of stopping the run game. My question is that because they're playing lesser competition, or is that actually how they're going to show up? We'll find out, right? This is a really good thing about USC is we'll find out. But pass-wise, I just see too many guys running free, too many missed assignments. I mean, and that's the same thing that happened for the last 3 years is guys running wide open, and we thought it was maybe a Cal Halliday problem where because he's such an anchor in the middle of that, but it just seems like a defensive coaching philosophy, getting guys figured out talent-wise, because if you do it for over 2 years, which I'm going back to the Mel Tucker age, but like still, it's a good amount of them were, younger but around it back then.
Yeah.
And this coaching staff, they haven't figured out how to stop not great passing offenses. Like Boston College threw all over the field for them. They weren't disguising really anything. It didn't seem like they can confuse a quarterback. Like I don't see quarterbacks perplexed when they take a step back. It looks like, oh my God, yep, read number one, that, hey, this is the coverage they gave us. It's open. Yep. Oh, look, actually not read number one, but two's wide open because someone busted. And a team like USC with such an explosive passing offense, it makes me really, really scared because these are going to be the two best receivers that you guys faced outside of. Do you guys play Ohio State this year?
We play Penn State.
No.
So no, in Michigan.
Yeah,
and that's UCLA's garbage.
No, yeah,
this is coach. Yeah, that's probably the best.
Minnesota,
receivers.
I think. Yeah, this is the best receivers. Mekhi Lemon is really, really good. So I'm a little nervous for this team, but the positive, like you said, is it all counts as one. We're halfway to bowl eligibility. We talked about our goals, and here's the thing. Sometimes you have bad games.
True.
Right? Sometimes you have a bad day at the office where the other team comes out and they've scouted you really hard and maybe you're thinking about USC, and you can't throw all your eggs into 1 week's basket. But the defense being bad for 2 weeks post-Western is where I'm concerned. They don't look physical enough to compete at a Division I Big Ten level on the line. Like, if you can't rush the passer, you are going to get shredded. And if you can't blitz because you can't cover anyone on the back end, you're going to get shredded. So lots of cause for concern for MSU. But like you said, a win is a win. First 3-0 start since, or back-to-back 3-0 starts for the first time since 2018, I believe it was, 2017.
Something like
that, those 2 years. So it's been a minute. So that's one of the positives. We can complain all we want, but they have time and opportunity to clean up, everything before you head out to the West Coast and play USC.
Yeah, so I'll definitely be watching the press conference tomorrow. I think they do a Monday press conference for the head coach, so for Smith. And he's pretty, what I enjoy about Smith is he's very transparent about injuries, unlike Tucker. I just don't understand why you don't tell people. So we will know a lot more about Vincic, probably out for the season. We'll know a lot more about Nick Marsh, which obviously is the big one. That's your probably your best player on the team next to Childs, and they have that connection for sure. And then if he's hurt, then we need guys like McCray to step up. We need guys, both our tight ends. I think our tight end room, like I said, beginning of the year is pretty good. And then even would love to see I think it's Braylon Collier, freshman. Maybe he gets thrown in there, and even Evan Boyd from Central, big body guy, he got a target. And then they were talking in the post game presser too about Clarizio. He has been injured. I'm not sure what it is. He was in street clothes this game as well, but they were expecting him to play. if he was healthy. So he is still in the mix. And if one of our running backs gets hurt, I've been liking what I've been seeing out of Tau Tolliver as well. KB, he runs the ball well. I know it's towards the end of the game, but he's got some good runs, and he's a good third option if we need him. But on to next week. It'll be a super late game, so maybe I'll just be up with KB watching that game. And I'm really interested in the spread, if it's going to be 15, 20 points. ESPN, I think the win percentage for them to win is 95.2%. So we'll see it. And unfortunately, I'm a diehard. I might watch the whole game, but if it's getting out of hand, I'm going to just go to bed. But let's segue. Game of the week. And it was, obviously next to Notre Dame A&M, this game was also up there. Georgia outlast Tennessee 44-41 in overtime. I watched highlights, and I was kind of back and forth with this game, KB, but I feel like you were probably locked in. So I'd like to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah, I was locked into this game. The exact opposite of what I predicted. These quarterbacks and this passing offense for both sides looked really, really good. Tennessee put themselves in a bunch of good places to win this game, right? They had a field goal at the end to win it, and he missed. They had a big lead. They started the game out red hot, 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. They kind of slowed down, and then back in the fourth quarter, they picked it up again. Joey Aguilar was 371, 4 TDs, 2 back-breaking picks. I think really that's the change of the game. They really didn't get the run game going at all. 125 yards, but on 3.7 a carry, not that sustainable. Chris Brazel, the second, had 177 and 3 TDs. He played a tremendous game. He's a really, really big guy. He mossed a couple guys, and Georgia looked overwhelmed, but Stockton was able to let these guys hang in, give them enough opportunities, and they did what Georgia does, which is win these close games, especially against Tennessee, and find ways to win different sorts of games, shootouts, low-scoring games. I feel like they do a really good job there. So Stockton, I think he played a heck of a game.
He's a gamer. He's a grinder.
Yeah,
23 for 31, 304, 2 tutties, and he ran for a touchdown as well.
Yeah, touchdown. They both started the game out with rushing touchdowns. He got sacked 3 times, so I'm sure that impacts the rushing numbers. I don't like that. There should just be a stat that says, sack numbers for the QB, and we track it separately. But really, really fun game, back and forth. Both of these teams are really, really good, in my opinion. I think we saw really good football, more so than like bad football, busts and coverages. It was just guys making plays, and it was a heck of a fun game. Thank God we took the 3.5 points, right? We got the little extra kicker in there.
That's a good one.
We predicted Tennessee to win it and to cover, and they did. So really, really fun game. I think the difference maker is that Georgia just kind of wore on Tennessee a little bit more, and like I said, they avoided the turnovers. Tennessee had 2 interceptions. Georgia had 2 fumbles, so even, but 10 penalties for 82 yards. That's always really impactful, and they got outrushed. But it was a really, really fun game that you win in the margins, right? But Georgia, like I said, they had the ball for 35 minutes compared to 24 for Tennessee, so they're able to possess it and kind of wear that defense down, especially in the fourth quarter when it felt like they could just score at will.
Yeah, this is a fun game. I watched most of it, and I watched highlights back, and I don't know how many in a row it's now. It's for Georgia. It's like 8, maybe more, which is impressive. I think Heupel's a good coach. That kicker's got to make that kick. I know the pressure's there, and it's a big game, so that's a mental one. That's a tough one to take. Great game, though. Joey Aguilar looked really good, KB. He throws a good ball. He's athletic. So if he can clean up those picks, he could be really good. Quarterback, and see how that draft stock goes. I did see a tweet about Nico. It was like Nico's dad wants to adopt Joey Aguilar, which I think is funny. UCLA's 0-3 and just fired their coach. Wow. Tennessee loses this game, but it's competitive. It's in overtime. It doesn't really hurt them much. Maybe it will hurt them later in the SEC, but a heck of a game from him. Neither team ran the ball that well. 34 for 125 and 55 for 193. 3 rushing touchdowns is nice for Georgia, but neither team ran well. So shout out to the fronts for both teams. And the receivers were running rampant. Obviously, you shout out Brazel, Braylon Staley was good for Tennessee, and a lot of guys touched the ball for Georgia. Colby Young, Zechariah Branch, London Humphreys, etc. So it's cool to see these quarterbacks spread it out and get to these guys, because we both had question marks about these quarterbacks, and they got a lot of people involved. And I like Tennessee's offense is fun to watch when they're clicking, KB. I think they have a decent tight end this year too, and I saw him get a catch. I think he probably had a handful. I'm not sure which guy it is. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
87.
like you said, it was we both had questions about these QBs, and it wasn't from the aspect of we're just down on them. It was we've seen so much bad QB play so far in the year for first time starters and guys who haven't had a ton of experience going in on the road, and both guys didn't flinch. They looked well prepared and really played an effective football game. But with that being said, Quest, any more on that game? Because I do have a few small things I wanted to mention.
Just one thing. Shout out
Yeah.
name of the week, Boo Carter for Tennessee, number 23. 5 tackles, 3 solos, half tackle for loss, and looks like he had a forced fumble. So shout out to the name, Boo Carter. But no, KB, go ahead.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, two other things. Some of the other games we had mentioned, obviously Notre Dame A&M, there's that huge missed holding call. I don't know if you guys
I saw that bad. He
tackled
him.
The dude tackled him, wrapped his leg and started spinning. That was on the 4th down play that ended up being a touchdown that won the game. So that sucks. Miami was able to blow out USF.
Yeah.
USF now drops from the AP polls. I mean, this is just ridiculous, guys. I
They
know
could
we need to
easily run the
get-
table in the American. They could have a good year.
Just because they lost on the road to Miami and got blown out. I mean, a bunch of teams have had that happen to them, so that sucks for them, especially with how they came out to start the year. But hopefully they can right the ship, be one of the G5 teams that get the automatic bid. We talked about it. I said GT.
Fire
sneaky
Dabo.
little
They're
game
saying
down
fire
there.
Dabo.
Fire Dabo. That team and the coach said it best. They pride themselves on physicality, and we got to give a round of applause for Haynes King. That man battles. I think he had 20 carries in this game, 20 something. He was basically their rushing offense, and he ended up getting them in a really good spot. And their kicker, right? We talk about the difference, a game of inches. Tennessee, their kicker misses the game-winning field goal as time expires. Georgia Tech, their field goal kicker nails it, right? That's the difference between these starts and everything like that. Klubnik did not look good again. Their O-line is not very good. He had an INT and a bad fumble. Bryant Wesco had a good game. But yeah, Hayneskin, 25 carries for 103 with a touchdown. He threw for 211 yards. He had the ball on 53 touches. That's like a Denard Robinson stat line from back in the day when they didn't really have a rushing attack. But that's really the tough, nitty-gritty things, and that's why Georgia Tech wins all these games. Now, consistency has been their problem because they beat a ranked team one week, and then the next week they don't show up because they used all their energy up like the week before. They always sometimes come out flat. But needed to mention that because we talked about it. And then
Vanderbilt.
Billy Napier, he's getting fired
Florida,
sooner rather than later.
Brian Kelly got in a scuffle. Did you see that? And then he was like going at the reporters because their offense was struggling. He's something else.
Yeah. What a guy. What a
Anchor
good guy,
up.
right?
Yeah, great guy.
But Florida, DJ Lagway threw 5 picks.
Yeesh. Trying too much.
Had not looked good the last 2 weeks. This is a guy that missed a lot of the fall, missed spring due to injuries. I just really feel bad for him.
Yeah.
And for that team, because they have a gauntlet of a schedule. They might not win 3 more. They might not make bowl eligibility with how difficult their schedule is and how they've been playing. But wanted to mention that. And then the last thing, something to keep your eyes out on, is the transfer portal. Both UCLA and Virginia Tech fired their coaches. There's now a 30-day open window for players to enter the transfer portal.
Nico!
And because it's before 4 games, the players can demand a redshirt if they haven't redshirted and enter the portal. Commit to a school, finish out your semester, and then leave. And be there for all of the winter workouts, be there for bowl game eligibility and all that stuff. So just something to kind of be aware of. As we look at this, if you guys are like, oh, the transfer portal isn't open whenever a head coach is fired, it's 30 days the following Monday from when they get fired that they can enter the portal. So we'll see if Nico decides something pretty interesting here. But we'll see because they fell after losing to New Mexico, who Michigan ended up beating earlier on in the season. So
yeah.
All right, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, thanks for the tidbit, KB. I just want to shout out the Vanderbilt won 31-7. That was a big upset as well. feel bad for Sellers there. I don't know if that's a targeting call, but he probably got a concussion. I pulled him out of the game in the end of the first quarter, end of the half. I didn't really watch that one, but it seems like Vandy kind of dominated as well. And then, yeah, the coach is getting fired is crazy, and I didn't know. I always forget about that transfer portal window, KB, so thank you for that. But yeah, great weekend, decent slate, and we're in Big Ten play now, KB. We're in the nitty gritty of the conference. It's going to start getting colder in a few weeks. It's going to start getting rainy. It ain't in a Michigan State season without a couple rain games. So really interested to see the updates for the Michigan State team in the press conference tomorrow. Hopefully nothing major, but it looked like some guys were hurt for sure. Looking forward to breaking down the USC game. I don't know how I feel right now. I'm kind of curious what the spread's going to be. So that's on my mind, and obviously Michigan is going to Nebraska. So nothing else for me, really. Looking forward to some good news, hopefully, for Michigan State. They all count one. We're 3-0, halfway to that bowl game. That's what we need. That's what we want. And as always, for me, go green.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better, Quist. The fun thing, especially if you mentioned Vanderbilt, they have Georgia Southern and Utah State for the next 2 games, and they'll be traveling to Alabama, potentially undefeated, ranked probably right around Alabama. So I think that's going to be a sneaky, fun kind of rematch game from last year.
Oh, yeah.
Where obviously Vanderbilt, put themselves onto the stage, and this is a tough football team. But just overall, happy for football, excited that, like you said, kind of the boring, not talking about games, and we have film. We can go watch these teams in some of their previous games, so you have opportunities to form real opinions to see how they've played instead of just guessing a bunch. So interested to see how this goes. And it's year 3, Matt Rule, right? Do they turn around the bus? Are they able to get a win against Michigan? Is Michigan able to pull out a win without their head coach there? Should be fun. I'm excited, man. And with all that being said, go blue.
And I forgot, KB, restore the roar.